Now we move on to our next segment, and that's our main focus of the episode. And this week we're talking about battery management. As we continue our way through the system settings, we now come to the battery management. And today we're talking about battery management. This is where we go in and change how the battery is used, whether we want to activate that adaptive battery management and things like that. And also, here is where you could find things like battery sharing and all of that. But you have to go into the battery settings within the system settings to do all of that. And also, from here, you could also control as to which app has access and how long, whether they should have access to that battery perpetually or just limited fashion. And so, we will be having Ed talking about that as he demos what we're talking about here. But before we do, though, do you guys have any comments before we have Ed talk about this battery management?
So one thing is there that we need to be very careful while setting this section up. We need to be very careful while setting things up here because some apps, some settings might not allow apps to work properly because especially battery optimization will limit the app performance and notification delays will be there. So you need to remember what app you're giving access to what, and then you need to be able to revert. So be very careful while doing things in this section.
That is very true. Because if you find an app that is misbehaving or maybe not behaving right because of the battery, it could be all in here. And you need to go in here and check. And to be sure, though, if it's an app that you rely on, especially if something that you want to get notifications promptly on time, you want to make sure that that thing is not set to or is not put in the column that its battery is limited. So you want to be sure you choose things here wisely. And yet, in the same breath, you want to make sure that you're not overly putting out a lot of things in here that will wind up draining your battery and leaving you with a short battery and things like that. So it's one of those things that one learns by which ones he or she needs, and using that kind of discretion then makes it possible for one to get the things that they need. Because if you don't, then you're going to have too much going on, and then you have that short battery I talked about. And yeah, so be careful what you do in here and manage things well. And also, I noticed there was a time I set mine to, hey, when it's at 2% or 3%, then turn on the battery saver. And I noticed that it was, I don't remember what phone it was actually affecting my talk back to where if it reaches that percentage, then one does not have that speech output anymore from the screen reader. And so I noticed that. And then, of course, I made sure that even if I have the battery saver thing on, that I exclude it from affecting my screen reader. So that's something to keep in mind. We will now turn on to Ed's demonstration of this segment. And here is Ed with the battery management. Ed, take it away.